So we've got an exciting time happening for us. Now, the government numbers are a little different than the ADP numbers. But the ADP jobless numbers have already come out. We're waiting for the government's numbers. But from ADP, it shows private sector hiring has decelerated. And it's another sign that the U.S. is headed for a sharp slowdown. Or dare I say it, recession. Dare I say it, Stu? Dare I?
How could you? There's no risk of that. This is transitory.
Right, exactly right. So the company payrolls rose by just 145,000 for the month, down from an upwardly revised 261 in February, and below the Dow Jones estimate of 210. Now, here's what they do. ADP. I don't know what the Dow Jones does. I don't know what the government does. But I believe ADP has a very complex system because they're a payroll company. And what they do, is my understanding, I could be wrong, is they look at how many paychecks they cut last month, and then they give us the number that they cut this month. And they either add or subtract to that to give us the data. Now, if they add some sort of fancy algorithm, I would say that's why you can't trust it. But I think that's a pretty good one. You know, you're looking at all the companies and you're like, how many checks did we cut last month? How many checks did we cut this month? Okay, add or subtract. Seems pretty easy. But the government has, a New York Times bestseller list kind of algorithm going for it. So we'll see. But it's not supposed to be a good day. And
the actual jobs number is tomorrow, right?
Is it tomorrow? I thought it was this morning.
I know there's something that came out today, which is one of those more like another different type. There's the main jobs report, I believe. It always comes out on Friday, and it comes out tomorrow. Okay. Even on, I guess, Good Friday.
All right. Yeah. There's something that comes out today in jobs.
There was something else that came out separately today. But the big number, I like this quote, by the way. This is from chief economist at ZipRecruiter, actually. I think the image for me that most sums up where we are, the labor market, is a chart by Bloomberg's chief economist, which shows that mentions of job cuts are now higher than mentions of labor shortages and earnings calls. That's a big reversal after 2021 and 2022, where very much the years of the labor shortage and everyone was talking about how they were struggling to find workers. We're at a tipping point now.
Yeah.
So
we had all these people living off the teat of the government, and they wouldn't work. Now the people who will work are losing their job. So this is good. This is good news. By the way, ChatGPT, they did an analysis of the job market. They did this at the behest of a Goldman trader. And he put in all of the things. He said, what do you think? And basically, he got back, we're all on borrowed time. So I think that's good. I know, nothing to worry about. Hey, listen, let me tell you. I don't know if you heard this. This is good news. But gold has approached an all-time high. It has passed the $2,000 level. The all-time high is $2,075. Price of gold yesterday was 2020. Oh, it was a fine year as well. And it looks as though gold is going to hit, this according to Citigroup, $2,300 in the near term. We get up to $3,000, $4,000 an ounce, $3,000 really. You're in a different world. Okay. The reason why Citigroup is saying that it may reach $2,300 in the near term, gold has found itself on solid ground as the U.S. dollar's strength tapered. Okay. Are any of your friends paying attention to this? because this is the most. I read a diary of a guy from World War II, and he was in Germany during the Weimar Republic. And he said nobody had any idea what hyperinflation even meant. He said, we were just going along and we had inflation and, things weren't great, but it wasn't hyperinflation. He said, 7 days later, that was the only conversation you would have with anyone in Germany. When this happens, it happens fast. It's not like we're doing the slow approach to it now. This is the time for you to explain this to your friends and to your neighbors that massive change is coming. And the reason why you explain it is the opposite of what Neil Cavuto told me one time. Neil Cavuto, I said in 2008 that I thought we were headed for a crash and the banking system didn't make any sense. These home loans were out of control. And when we got off the air, he didn't even look at me. I said, hey, thanks, Neil. Mm-hmm. And I said, and Neil and I were friends. And I said, is there a problem? Did I get something wrong? And he said, no, you didn't. And I said, okay, is there a problem? And he said, you're the most irresponsible man I've ever met. And it crushed me. And I said, oh my God, what did I get wrong? He said, you didn't get wrong. We know this is coming. We don't tell the American people because they will freak out. And I said, respectfully, Neil, I disagree with you. We have to tell the American people or they will freak out. You need to brace people for this. It is the government's belief, and it is many journalists' belief, that if they tell you these things, then it'll make you go do it. It'll just make it a done deal. I got news for you. Math is math. So it's coming. So don't freak out. Prepare and prepare your family and your friends. That way we have a better chance of not eating each other for dinner. And that could happen. I eat a lot. That grocery store is closed for 10 minutes. I'm knocking on your door. I'm just saying. Now, I told you yesterday that China and Malaysia were discussing the Asian Monetary Fund. You also had Brazil involved in this. Listen to this story today. Tell me that we are a superpower anymore. Tell me that our friends are not going to abandon us and our dollar. Listen to this. The Mexican President Obrador has written to officials in China requesting Beijing's help in stemming the flow of fentanyl into Mexico. Now, I, for one, would just like to say at this point, I hope Beijing funds a wall on our southern border. If Mexico's northern border could just be protected by a wall, wow, I'd be very disappointed. He said at a news conference that he had written the Chinese after U.S. officials encouraged him to reach out to Beijing in a recent visit. Why would we do that? Why would we encourage the Mexicans to reach out for help from the Chinese, our enemy? The Mexican president also struck out at the U.S. He complained about the U.S. in his letter and the rude threats coming from the U.S. officials to classify Mexican drug cartels as terrorist groups. I don't think that's rude. I think that's like fact. All right. We got to get over these. Well, that's hate speech. Not if it's true. No, then it's just a fact. He said, we've come to you, in his letter to President Xi, we've come to you, President Xi, not to ask for your support in the face of these rude threats, but to request that for humanitarian reasons, you help us control shipments of fentanyl that can be sent from China to our country. unjustly, the United States is blaming us for problems that in large measure have to do with their loss of values. That's not hate speech on his part. That's true. These positions are in themselves a lack of respect and a threat to our sovereignty. And moreover, they are based on an absurd, manipulative, propagandistic, and demagogic attitude. That's our friend Mexico writing a letter to President Xi in China. Top Saudis now said that they are meeting with the Iranians in Beijing for a new peace conference. Okay, listen to this. This is coming from an Iranian official who's standing right with a Saudi official. Quote, "The era of the United States' involvement in this region, the Middle East, is over. The regional countries are capable of preserving security and stability in the Middle East without any interference from Washington. The next steps will be discussed in Beijing." Do you remember when the experts all said that a Biden administration would restore us in good standing with the rest of the world? A Biden administration would put us back where we belong. And non-experts like me said, no, they won't. No one respects us with this kind of leadership. Little did I know we would not only not be respected, but we would be shunned because of what's happening in our country.